So apparently, Godinez had to take a number two before the start of the third round. Before the start of the third round. Now, when you have to use the restroom, I feel like it impacts whatever you're doing physically. And after you relieve yourself, you're more effective. That was the only downside, I thought, to this fight. Another downside was the time spent on the ground. And I don't think it was that significant. There were comments after the fight or from people saying fight of the night, fight of the night. I don't know who gets it. And I don't think it really matters. I think the only thing that matters here is that the female fighters are doing very well. And you know a pattern. I tell you something I've noticed over the years. Whenever there's a really good fights come in waves, it seems like. Good fights come in waves. When there's a fight that sort of raises the standard far as expectations from female performances, quite often subsequent fights are good fights as well. And I tell you what, this happens when Weili fights. I've noticed this. For a while after Weili's fights, girls go in there and they go at it. I'm telling y'all, Weili's one of those fighters who raises the standard. Okay, girls, it seemed like they sort of feed off her killer instinct. Tenacity. Her energy. Not just her, but when any female fighters get in there and they do exceptionally well, I think it motivates others. Like the fight tonight. I think this fight will motivate other females to do well. I suspect that, Lupi and Polastri may have been inspired by the fights from last weekend. There hasn't really been any poor performances recently. So hats off to the fighters for that. Now, I thought Polastri looked strong early in the fight. I thought she looked like the stronger fighter. She looked like she had better composure. And she just looked more dangerous overall. But Lupi looked stronger. And that's a pattern with Lupi's fights. She's quite often physically stronger. Physically stronger than her opponents. But that's the thing with Lupi, at least the way I see it. She's got above average strength, in my opinion. I think Lupi has above average physical strength for a strawweight. And she's physically just stronger than most strawweights. However, I think she's mediocre at everything else. Mediocre at everything else. Now, her boxing is not that bad. Her hands are not that bad. But she's not exceptional. She don't stand out. Her striking is not standout. When you think of elite striking, you don't think of Lupi Godinez. And when you think of elite ground game, you don't think of Lupi Godinez. The only thing Lupi does is get you down. That might stand out in your memory. The way she picks fighters up and slams them or takes them down. But once she's on the ground, it seems like Lupi sometimes is lost. She's always losing positions. She's never really doing any ground and pound. Like her ground and pound game, I think, is below average, Lupi Godinez. Okay? I don't want to dwell too much on the flaws, but Loopy, every time she got this girl down, Loopy didn't know what to do. She couldn't submit her, and she wasn't really raining any ground and pound on her. Loopy's top game is not strong. I think that's a big problem for her. That's a big problem for her. She good at getting you down, tossing you through the air, slamming you down. But once she's down there, she's not that destructive at all. She's not really a submission threat. It seemed like Polastri was she was effective at neutralizing anything Loopy wanted to do. And you saw how often, I mean, she kept taking Polastri down, but Polastri would constantly improve her position every single time. Loopy, how many times Loopy have full side control and lose it? Loopy stayed losing side control. She kept losing side control. And all the time she spent on top of her, Polastri was not being punished. Think of Suarez. How bad she was being punished as Whaley was on top of her. And it looks like Loopy, a big problem with her too when she's on top, she allows her opponents to do whatever they want almost with their guard. Okay, so no elbows being rained down, no real punches. And in fact, Loopy's arms was being controlled. Like there was no damage. Put it like that. When Loopy was on top, there was no damage. It was just struggling. So I think that's one area of Loopy's game that if she improves, she'll be real dangerous. Because if she's able to get you down as easily as she does, if she's able to then have dangerous ground and pound or more dangerous submission, be more dangerous of a submission threat, take nothing from Polastri. Hey, Polastri might be that good on her back, but I think Loopy would be more dangerous. And I do think that's one of Loopy's problems. I think that's one of her problems. A weak top game when she has you down and she is on top. A few times it almost looked like she was about to get submitted. Submitted herself, even though she was on top. And aside, because you notice, there was a lot of times where Loopy really couldn't deal with Polastri striking with her. So Loopy would go for a takedown. Because especially in third round, Polastri was starting to paint Loopy's face with punches. And she was throwing a lot more kicks than Loopy. More kicks everywhere, to legs and high kicks. And in that third round, she was starting to walk Loopy down, started landing more shots. And there was like 2 or 3 times, maybe even more, where Loopy would go for a takedown. She would abandon throwing hands, okay? She didn't want to continue to go toe-to-toe. She didn't want to be in the phone booth no more. She acted like she did at first because Loopy would take her down and then Loopy herself would let her back up. It's like, okay, what'd you take her down for? Because she would take her down and couldn't do nothing. Loopy would take her down, couldn't ground and pound her, and she couldn't submit her. So Loopy would stand back up. She'd get up, Loopy take her back down, let her back up. She was only taking her down, I felt like, because she couldn't handle the stand-up. She's standing up, throwing hands. It's too much for Loopy. She take her down, and then when she get her down, she can't do nothing. Let her back up. The stand-up is too much. Take her back down. Get her down. Can't do nothing. Can't submit her. Can't ground her. Okay, let her back up. And then that kept repeating itself. That theme in the fight stood out to me. That stood out to me. In fact, during the fight, I was sort of complaining. I was complaining about Lupe's inability to do anything worthwhile after she got her down. But aside from that, the stand-up was the best part of the fight. You know, they were throwing hands back and forth, not much head movement. Lupe getting her nose punched and bloodied as always. But it was a crowd-pleasing fight. I got no complaints. And good job. Good job for the ladies. They're not stinking up the joint at all. At all. And in some cases, they're actually kind of showing out. Now, I want to talk about, real quick, a few other fights. A couple other fights that was made. I don't like this fight between Rose and Miranda Maverick. I don't like teammates fighting each other because they really don't try to really hurt each other when they're friends. They don't. They have a fair type of fight. You know, it's the fight is different when you either don't have feelings or don't like each other. When you're friends, you spent all this time, there are going to be certain shots you're not going to take because that's Miranda. There are going to be certain things you're not going to do because that's Rose. Okay, you're not going to have that. It's not the same. It's just not the same. Bad blood is sometimes good. Unfamiliarity is sometimes good. You don't have to be, I don't like this. I talked about this before. Putting teammates in there against each other. They couldn't have found anybody else for these two fighters. I guess they was both looking for a fight. I guess. I don't know. Right now, I'm going to say bad idea. I'm going to call that a mistake. That was a mistake. Let me look at the rankings. Right now, Miranda is low. If I'm not mistaken, she like number 14. Oh, she number 12. But that's still low. Rose is number 6. Let me change this here. If I can. Yeah, let me do this. But aside from that, y'all watch. Miranda's going to be more competitive than most people think she is. I would say more competitive than most people expect her to be. You watch. Because like I said, most of these fighters, they're closer. They're closer than most people think. Even the unranked fighters. In caliber, they're closer than most people think. Yeah, Rose, a former champion or two-time champion. She got more accolades. But we'll see. You just watch. Miranda Maverick don't have much power in her hands. Rose will have more power in the first round, I think. But after the first round, I don't expect Rose to be a knockout threat. I don't think Miranda is ever a knockout threat. Even early in the first round, at no point in the fight is Miranda a knockout threat. Rose is, but it's only early. And I believe Miranda will survive the early part of the first round. That's the only time Rose, I think, is a knockout threat. And after that, I think they're going to be kind of even kill. My personal opinion. They're striking. I don't think it's going to be that huge of a gap. Rose's hands is not going to be all that much better than Miranda's. Granted, I'm going to say that it'll be better. You know, her striking, I expect to be more effective. but not by a wide margin. I don't think it's going to be by a wide margin. So hopefully they don't take it easy on each other. But it's impossible. You've trained together. I'm sure they've hung out. They had friendship, buddy moments and stuff like that. Probably have eaten at each other's houses and stuff like that. Nah, I don't really like when they get matched up. And I don't like the fact they even train with each other. Why do fighters have to train with each other at all? It's beyond me. There's plenty of people in the world. There has to be more people. Plenty of people for y'all to train with. And especially girls in the same division. That don't seem necessary to me. Y'all don't have to do that. And I think it's counterproductive for y'all to be in the same division, training with and being buddy. I made a whole video about girls being tight friends with each. I really don't like that because some of them refuse to fight each other, as we all know. Hold up a second. What's going on here? My doggone computer. As we already know, several fighters have refused to fight each other. I'm not fighting her. We've seen it with the guys. I'm not fighting him. We saw Daniel Cormier go to a whole different division to avoid fighting his buddy. Okay? There are not that many MMA fighters in the world to begin with. Think about that. There are not that many MMA fighters as it is. And there's even fewer women. Think about that. The last thing we need is a bunch of them in the same flipping division who refuse to fight each other. No matter how you chop it up, that's counterproductive for the sport. Hopefully they get past that. Now, I believe this is a good fight for Stella Nunes. However, I suspect Loma might try to take her down. Estella has always needed to be up against strikers to look good. That's just the fact. If she's going to look her best, she needs to be in against a striker. Loma is a striker, but Loma can fight on the ground, and Loma's striking might be too good for, it just might be too good for Estella Nunes. And I don't think Nunes has fought since that injury, has she? And that was a long time ago. So you got to imagine rust, maybe have some ring rust going on. I'm taking Loma. Loma has been fighting too much. She's been fighting nonstop, unranked. She actually has a lengthy UFC career. But she hasn't moved up. I don't even think she's ever been ranked. And I don't think she will be. And I don't think she will be until they make an atomweight division. If they make an atomweight division. So yeah, I'm going to be taking Loma in that fight. Juliana Miller, Petrovic, yeah. Tisha is going to fight Luana Pinheiro. I'm going to take Tisha in that fight. Tisha, I thought she was about to retire. Maybe she will. Maybe this is her last fight. Don't be surprised if she lays down the gloves as well. She's already a mother. Okay, so we see the pattern. They take long breaks. They become mothers. And eventually you hear about the retirement. So, yeah. Aaron Blanchfield already talked about against Macy Barber. Another thing, don't be surprised if old sickly Macy Barber pull out. Sickly, injury-prone Macy Barber pull out. Don't be surprised. I'm already prepping my mind for it. And apparently Whaley is going to be in a movie. Okay, is this a China movie? Makes her film debut as the lead in After Typhoon. I don't get into movies like that, but I think this is a Chinese movie. Oh, it's definitely a Chinese movie. Whaley don't speak English good enough to be in no American movie. So good for Whaley. She out here making moves, making power moves, and really gaining a lot of respect. I think she's gained more respect in the eyes of a lot of fighters who didn't really respect her in the past. Like Valentina. I think today has more respect for Whaley, as we all know. I think that's irrefutable. She got more respect for Whaley. And some of you may have seen Tatiana Suarez is training with Valentina. She's training with Valentina. And if you read the comment section of that photo, it's on Suarez's Instagram. If you read the comment section, Suarez's plan is to make improvements and make a comeback. So I thought she was getting ready to retire. I'm on record saying it, that I was preparing myself to hear about Tatiana Suarez calling it a day as far as MMA. But I guess I was wrong, and she is going to continue. She wants to, but she went to Valentina. That was interesting. I don't know if she went to Valentina. Let me correct that. I don't know how they ended up as training partners, but they're training. And in fact, it looked like Suarez has become a member of Valentina's team, because she's also training with Jocelyn Edwards, who is in Valentina's camp. It's like every training camp for the both of them. They're training with each other. So I don't know what Suarez got up her sleeve. Is she trying to improve her striking? Training with Valentina? Maybe herself and her team looked at her striking against Whaley and thought, hey, there's no way we can survive with this level of striking. We need to increase and improve our striking. Maybe there was some physical things that impaired her wrestling. Like, hey, the first round we got her down. You know, we'll see what Suarez got up her sleeve. I'd be surprised if she gets another title shot. But we will see. And I will land my plane there.